to go with her slides, so just give me a minute. We're almost there.
Sure.
Sorry about that. There we go. Okay. So let me share my screen. There we go. All right. So let's start the clock right now. Sorry for the delay. So Hacienda La Puente, you have 20 minutes to make your presentation.
Good morning, Madam Chairwoman and committee members. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to present during these challenging times. And I just want to take a moment to thank staff. We just had our first board meeting using Zoom and changing the platform. And I know a lot of us have transferred to this. It's not easy. I know it takes a lot of work, so thank you, staff, for what you're doing to help make this meeting happen. My name is Anthony Duarte. I'm the board president for the Hacienda La Puente Unified School District. I will be making this presentation along with Mr. Larry Burchall with Cooperative Strategies. Really quickly, just a little background information on myself before we get started. I have been serving on the Hacienda La Puente Unified School Board for almost 8 years. I am a lifelong resident of the La Puente community, having attended Hacienda La Puente Unified Schools. In fact, we've had 3 generations of my family attend schools in the Hacienda La Puente Unified School District. Prior to joining the school board, I was on the education committee for the city of La Puente, and I served as chair of the planning commission for the city of La Puente. And I have been a longtime proponent of moving Hacienda La Puente Unified School District to at trustee area elections. So I'm really excited to be able to be the board president during the transition as we move forward with this process. So a quick outline on the presentation. I will go through it quickly because I know the committee has had an opportunity to have this in the possession and go through it. So I want to give plenty of time for Mr. Burchall and any questions regarding the map selection, sequence selection. So a quick outline, to go through what is Hacienda La Puente Unified School District, Board of Education, our boundaries, the background on what led us here to moving to at trustee elections, the CVRA team that we put together, the efforts we put to get the word out, our public hearings and meetings, the public response we received, the mapping criteria we looked at, the district demographics of Hacienda La Puente Unified School District and the community we represent, the 7 map options that were presented to the community, sequence of elections, and finally we're going to be discussing the State Board of Education election waiver. So if we can move down, please. So a little bit about Hacienda La Puente Unified School District. We represent 1,506 residents. We serve the communities of Hacienda, City of Industry, City of La Puente, Melinda, City of Waukegan, West Puente Valley, and other areas of the general unincorporated Los Angeles County. We have a little over 17,000 TK 12th grade students. We have almost 16,000 adult students in our adult education. We are one of the largest adult education schools in the state. We have 17 elementary schools, 4 middle schools, 6 K-8 schools, 5 high schools. And in the 50-year history of Hacienda La Puente Unified School District, it's actually a slight correction because we look back into the very beginning. We've had only 5 board members out of 31 who come from the La Puente community, which is north of the 6th Street Freeway. So you'll hear a lot of comments on north side, south side. So north side of the 6th Street Freeway tends to be the La Puente community, which also includes portions of City Tree, Avocado Heights, Melinda, and West Puente Valley, and then the other south side, which is Hacienda Heights. So I am the current president of the Board of Education. The vice president is Dr. Joseph Chang. The clerk is Mr. Tino Kwok, who is currently serving a term from 2015 to 2020. And then we have board members Mr. Jeffrey Della Torre and Mr. Martin Mendrano, who's also on the 2015-2020 time frame. So next we have our district boundaries. This is the district boundaries of Hacienda La Puente. So you see the 60 freeway cutting right there through the middle, and you can see where the north side and south side exist from the freeway. We have our elementary school attendance boundaries. Again, we have, in total, when you include our K-8 schools, we have 23 elementary schools, and that's the boundaries of our elementary schools. And then the next slide is the boundaries of our middle schools, which, including, again, our K-8 is 10 middle schools. And then we have 4 comprehensive high schools and our continuation school. High school would bring us to 5 high schools. As you can see from our high school boundaries, we kind of have a little district boundaries. We do have our high school boundaries. And so when you look at some of these maps and you look at this high school map, a lot of them look very familiar to this. So what led us to this? On December 9th, 2019, the Board of Education received a CVRA demand letter, a proposed trustee area map. Again, being a longtime proponent of moving to trustee areas, I was glad to see this come. I think it's been a long time coming for Hacienda La Puente. And when I saw the map, I thought it was a really good start on how we can move forward to finally, hopefully, moving the board to adopt a map. On January 21st, 2020, the board adopted a resolution to initiate conversion and to seek waiver of election to convert. As soon as we got it, we had our first board meeting in December, and we decided we weren't going to fight this. We weren't going to challenge it. This was the right thing to do for our community. It was the right time to do it. So we put a team together that included cooperative strategies, who you'll hear a little bit later. We have our attorneys, and then we had 2 firms that were helping out with our outreach, VMA and Presidio. We wanted to make sure we could reach as many community members as possible, especially since the goal of the board was to have this done for the November 2020 election. Again, we knew it was a long time coming, and we knew the community desired. So we're talking about here about the commitment to the community from the Hacienda La Puente School Board. Again, when we received this, the school board embraced the CVRA goals and process. We exceeded the public outreach requirements of the CVRA, and now we did all of our public outreach in English, Spanish, and Mandarin, and we made sure that translators were available at all meetings. We rapidly completed the CVRA process to convert the 5 trustee area election systems to make the November 2020 election. So a little bit about the outreach we did. Getting the word out, we wanted to make sure that our community knew what was going on and the time frame this was going on. On January 23rd, the school district created the CVRA webpage. We had a little over 1,500 views on that webpage. On that webpage, we put all our hearing and meeting notices, the schedule of how this was going to proceed, all set of proposed maps, the proposed election sequences, FAQs, all of our social media links, and links for phone and email comments. Next slide. We have also sent out, because we know not everyone in our community has access to the internet at home or even a computer at home, so we wanted to make sure those who didn't have the technology at home knew what we were doing in Hacienda La Puente. So we mailed over 30,000 postcards to district homes, so they knew that we were moving to at-trustee election areas. Next slide, please. We issued 7 press releases to 41 news organizations and 2 newspaper ads with Southern California news groups. Again, we were just trying to get as much information and outreach out there to let the community know that we were transitioning to this, and we wanted to reach the community in any which way they get their information. So another new tool that a lot of us are using is social media. We reached over 90,000 people using social media with 28 Facebook posts, 28 Instagram posts, and 28 Twitter posts. Next slide, please. We also sent out over 80,000 telephone calls using our school messenger, which went out to our district parents and guardians. We sent out over 35,000 text messages to the community, over 15,000 emails. We used 245 school marquee messages. Each of our school and our school districts and our adult school has marquees, and we place meetings about the hearings and about the process on those marquees. And then, because we know, again, that some of our community members do not have access to technology in their home, we made 40 public access laptops available at every school site and district site throughout Hacienda La Fuentina. That way, a community member could go on there and email comments, get information about the CBRA process. So that way they had it at their hands available as well. Moving on to the required public engagement by the CBRA. We had our first pre-map hearing on January 27th, 2020, where we had 56 community members attend in person. On February 3rd, 2020, we had our second pre-map public hearing where we had 28 community members attend in person. On February 6th, 2020, we published maps 1 through 4. Moving on. Continuing with our public engagement required by CBRA, on February 13th, 2020, we had our first post-map public hearing where we had 54 community members in attendance. On February 20th, 2020, the district published maps 5 and 6. On February 27th, 2020, we had our second post-map public hearing with 30 community members attending in person. And then on March 5th, 2020, we published map 7. On March 12th, 2020, we had 34 community members in attendance in person for the post-map public hearing number 3. At that same meeting, the board adopted resolution selecting map 3 and approving conversion to a trustee area elections. The board also adopted the resolution setting sequence of elections and approving presentation of petitions to the Los Angeles County Committee on School District Organization. Some additional district meetings that we had on February 4th, 2020, we met with our District Advisory Council and District English Learner Advisory Committee, which is 37 participants, to go through this process. And as well, on February 13, 2020, we met with our student LCAP leaders. There were 73 students who participated and what they thought the trustee areas of Hacienda La Fuentina University should look like. We really wanted to go above and beyond, not just to meet the CBRA meetings and the SPE waiver meetings, but we wanted to really make sure our community was heard. And so above the pre-map hearings and the post-map hearings and the required waiver hearings, we had a series of community meetings. As I showed, we have high school areas, and we wanted to make sure in each area we had community meetings. So if you scroll down, we had a series of meetings in all 4 high school areas, and then we had one in our school district. We had these meetings in the evenings, we had them in the mornings, we had them on the weekdays, we had them on the weekends. We did a complete overview of the presentation. Some of the board members attended, but it was our outreach team and Mr. Larry Furchoff who kind of led those meetings to get the community input. We had large maps and election sequencing set up at all stations. Notes were taken on feedback and questions and comments taken on comment cards and notes, and that was presented in a report to the Board of Education for consideration. So here's our community response after all that outreach. We did the mailings, we did the phone calls, the text messages, the social media. We had 367 comments and questions from community meetings and surveys. We had 76 public speakers at 5 public board hearings, 19 comment emails, and 1 phone message comment. But we also know not everybody wants to email something in, not everybody wants to show up in person and make a public comment. Some people want to phone in on a survey, and so the CBR team created a website which included a link to an online survey to gain insight on preferences by allowing communities to identify where in the district they reside and the order of scenarios by preference. So this is a heat map of Hacienda La Fuentina School District, and you have the survey results there. And as you can see, map 3 was the #1 choice by the majority of those who participated in our online survey. Again, it was another opportunity for community members to speak in a way that they thought that they could best express themselves. But with that, I believe I will go ahead and turn this over to Mr. Larry Ferchall.
Thank you, Mr. Duarte. Members of the committee, I'm just going to go quickly over some of the criteria as well as the demographic information of the school district before going through the scenarios. So this is standard criteria that we look at in drawing the trustee areas. Just highlight that the roughly equal in terms of total population with a variance of 10% between the largest and smallest, complying with the Federal Voting Rights Act, having the areas be packed and contiguous, looking at communities of interest, and following natural and man-made geographic features are among the considerations there. We go to the next slide. District demographics, you can see here, these are the communities that are served by the school district, as well as what those populations within those communities are as of the 2010 census. So look at 116,506 residents, which translates to 5 trustee areas of about 23,000 people each. You can see the Hacienda Heights area just under 54,000, the Belinda community just about 18,800, and the city of La Puente at about 31,500 are the 3 largest communities that we have. Let's go to the next one. This looks at our total population by ethnicity group. So you can see the Hispanic Latino population, so the 2010 census represented 65% of the residents, and the Asian population represented 22.33% of the residents. The white population represents about 10%, and the rest were single digits there. You can also see the 18 and over numbers to the right of that. We can go to the next slide. This is looking at the citizen voting age population. At the time we were using the 2013 to 2017 estimates. You can see the district is just about 60% Latino citizen voting age population, and the map on the right-hand side of this slide shows the concentration of that population, mainly in the northern parts of the district, up north of the 60, where you have those darker red and orange colors. We go to the next slide, which would show the other protected class, large protected classes in the school district being the Asian citizen voting age population, and you can see, conversely, the higher concentrations in the south and eastern part of the district, and the Hacienda Heights portion of the district, representing about 26% of the citizen voting age population. Go to the next slide. As the survey indicated, and as you know from reviewing the materials, that the board selected map 3 as the map that it would like to use for by trustee area elections. I'll walk through it briefly. Area 1 is yellow area, 2 is green, 3 is red, 4 is blue, 5 is purple. Area 1 has all of the portion of Belinda that is within the school district, as well as parts of West Covina and part of La Puente. Area 2 has all of the West Puente Valley, which is an unincorporated area, as well as La Puente. Area 3 has other parts of La Puente, mainly the downtown, Old Town corridor area, City of Industry, Avocado Heights, and a small portion of the northern area of Hacienda Heights. And then areas 4 and 5 are portions of Hacienda Heights, basically east and west Hacienda Heights. In terms of the demographics of scenario 3, on the next slide, you'll see that we have 3 areas, areas 1, 2, and 3, where a strong majority of the residents or citizen voting age population are Latino. So you see 72.28% Latino citizen voting age population in area 1, 82.5% in area 2, 75.4% in area 3. In addition, Area 5 has a plurality Latino population at about 47.5%. And then Area 4, and that was the blue area in the southeast part of the district, has a citizen voting age population for the Asian population of just about 51.5%, so a majority Asian citizen voting age population. We also shared on the next slide, for all the scenarios, what schools sites are within each of the trustee area boundaries. So you can see the distribution of school sites, as well as the number of students who attend each of those schools. So you'll see, for example, trustee area 1, all the schools that are located in that area, and then a total of 3,900 students attending schools within that area. I'll note on some of these that you'll see, for example, in area 5, there's a number of schools with 100 or fewer students. Those are alternative or community schools, and so those are actually on some of the same sites, but we did distinguish them as different sites as well. So we can go to the next slide. I'm going to go even quicker because I know we're running really short on time here. But map 1, this was among the maps that was considered by the board. So this was scenario 1. You can see it's very similar to scenario 3. There were just some shifts that happened between map 1 and map 3. This one does have a higher population variance of 9.42%, for example. If we scroll to the next slide, one of the differences in map 1 was area 5 was a slight majority Latino at 51%. You'll recall in map 3, it was a plurality Latino instead of majority. So that's a slight difference. In terms of the school sites, again, that same information that was provided in terms of the distribution there. We go to map 2. Again, this one is a little bit different than some of the other scenarios. Just go all the way down to map 2 slide. You'll see area 1 still stays with all of Belinda, West Covina, and La Puente. Area 2 is more of a diagonal underneath area 1. And then the other 3 areas kind of take parts of Hacienda Heights, or all of Hacienda Heights, and combine them with areas north of the freeway. So that was a little bit different of a method there in map 2.
First off, and that's the time would you like to move to map 3? Your 20 minutes have already elapsed.
Sure, maybe we can just skip ahead to slide 49. So on slide 49, you can see we provided a comparison of all the maps for the board to see in terms of what the population variances are, what the Federal Voting Rights Act compliance, in terms of majority areas for protected classes, whether the areas, and how they met other criteria. So we can go to slide 50 now. And as we've indicated, the board did select map 3, and did so for several reasons. The area 1 in the north kept all of Belinda together, and that's something that didn't happen in all the scenarios. And that's an area that had not seen a representative elected from that particular community for decades. And so there was a desire to have an area that would keep that community completely together, as well as keep Workman High School, which serves the Belinda community, within the trustee area that it represents. There was less divisions of communities as you look at the maps and how those trustee area lines cross with jurisdictional lines. There was less division of communities in map 3 than in map 4, for example. In map 4, Hacienda Heights is that portions of Hacienda Heights are in 4 of the 5 voting areas. So that was one of the other things. Scenario 3 also has 2 areas that are entirely north of Nelson Avenue, which guarantees that there will be at least 2 board members in that northern part of the district, where some of the other maps have the northern areas dropping down to the south a little bit more. So that doesn't guarantee that there would be board members elected from the northern parts of the area. And given the representation, as we've talked about, has been mainly not north in the district, there was a desire to see that as well. In terms of sequencing, if we look on slide 51, I know there's been some comments on that as well. The board selected areas 1 and 4 to have their elections in 2020, and areas 2, 3, and 5 in 2022. Areas 1 and 3 both don't have board members currently residing within them, and the board to select area 1 to be up in 2020, as well as area 4. The idea was, there's twofold. The idea was to have each half of the district, so to speak, the northern half and the southern half, have elections each 2 years. So rather than having no election in the Hacienda Heights portion in 2020 and 2 elections in the northern part, the idea was to have that more equally distributed, so both halves of the community would have an election every 2 years. And also in keeping with the spirit of the California Voting Rights Act, which the idea is to give members of protected classes more of a voice in the outcome of elections. Area 4 is the area of majority Asian protected class citizen voting age population. And Area 1, again, historically underrepresented area and a Latino majority. So this provides elections in 2020 for the two protected class areas within the district. We do have the 2 protected class groups within our community. With that, I'll just say the election waiver is going before the State Board of Education at tomorrow's meeting. And with that, we'll be happy to answer any questions at the appropriate time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this time,
We're going to hear from the proponent. Every proponent who chooses to speak will have 1 minute. If you have already sent in a written comment, please, you do not need to restate the written comment because they have been received, but if you care to add additional information you think would be helpful, please do that.
And if you're a proponent, could you raise your hand in the electronic room and I'll call out your phone number? Okay, I don't see any raised hands. So we can...
So, I'm hearing that there are no proponents, that nobody wishes to speak in support of what has been presented.
Other than the information we've already received. Correct.
Correct. Okay, so then I ask the question, are there any opponents who would like to speak? You too have 1 minute, and if you have already sent in a letter or email that the committee has now received, please try not to repeat the comments that you have already sent us, but to add any additional information you think might be helpful.
Raised hands. I don't see any raised hands at this time. Let me keep scrolling. No.
Okay. Would the Hacienda La Puente Unified School District like to...
Hold on one moment, excuse me. We now have some raised hands.
You have 2 raised hands that came up.
So I'll call on them and see if they are opponents or proponents.
Number 626-369-4019.
Yes, that's me.
Please.
State your name and tell us if you're a proponent or an opponent.
My name is Cindy Greenup, and I am an opponent to the selected map.
Okay, you have 1 minute to make your comment.
I have already submitted some comments by email. What I forgot to address and would like to address at this point is the online survey that was done and put out there. There were no safeguards on that online survey. People could and obviously did vote more than once, and there are votes that were out there that were not recorded. When the results of the vote were presented at the school board meeting, there were more people in the room that supported MAP 4 than they reported votes for it on that online survey. I think that survey should not be validated. It should be invalidated and not be used in selecting which map they go with. This was clearly a snow job by the board, and all they are interested in is protecting their power and their authority. They're not doing this for the best interest of the students. They're doing it for their own best interest. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And now we have one more.
Area code 909-583-4200.
Are you an opponent or a proponent? Make your comment now.
Opponent to the proposed plan. My name is Christine Salazar.
Perfect. Go ahead.
Yeah, the opponent. Thank you. My name is Christine Salazar, and I'm a lifelong resident of Hacienda Heights. I'm a byproduct of this of the district, and honestly, the methods that the district had used to fully communicate to the public is not as effective as it was. I do agree with Cindy. The surveys that were done were not controlled whatsoever. People can communicate or can vote as many times. The public meetings, yes, while there were mailers, there was only addresses. There was no specific times or dates on there, to be fairly honest. So there was a lot of confusion within both communities. And had it not been for community members actively sharing the information through Facebook groups or through our own social medias, that's how we were able to get more community people to come out here, come out to the public meetings, to the board meetings, to fully and communicate what they were wishing. And to be fairly honest, out of all the public hearings, public meetings, only one board member actually showed up to every single one and actually listened to what the community wanted, and that was MAP 4. MAP 4, and then for an election process to start with the areas that have no representation right now.
Thank you very much. Your minute has expired.
Let's take one more check to see if anyone else has raised their hand. Seeing none, Hacienda La Puente, you have 5 minutes to conclude if you choose to.
Sure. I will go ahead and let Larry continue on any points he may have left off.
We have one hand that...
Sorry to interrupt. One more comment. If everyone who wants to make a comment could please raise your hand, otherwise we don't know how to recognize you. So.
Okay, so the phone number is 714-602-6002. Please state your name and your proponent.
My name is Rhonda Fear, and I spoke earlier in general comment. I am an opponent to this map, and I actually am a retired teacher from Hacienda La Puente and was on the LCFF committees. And those surveys are not very effective because I was on the committee that did the surveys. And everything that came out on the surveys was never addressed. And then at the end of the year, I actually had my students write letters to the district office and send them to that, it was William Roberts that was in charge then. And they didn't even address any of the things. We never saw the funds. The funds were not allotted to the certain classrooms and what was actually voted on. So there needs to be some type of other form where, they decide on how this is done. The surveys do not work. They're not effective. The funds don't go where they're supposed to. So even though I'm not working there anymore, I really think the parents need to come out and have a bigger voice on how this is done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have one more.
Okay.
Area code 626-409-3908. If you can state your name and if you're a proponent or proponent. Area code 626-409-3908. The opportunity to speak if you're a proponent or opponent.
Opponent,
Your name, ma'am, please, for the record.
Margaret Caldera, CSEA 115 chapter president, also a longtime resident of the Hacienda La Puente area. And I had addressed the board regarding notification to the community residents because they were only notifying by school district. So the only way that a person would be able to know was if they had a child that attended the district. But we have many residents in the area that do not have children in the district, nor do they go onto their website. So I had asked to make sure that everyone is notified, so everyone will have an opportunity to submit an input. Also, regarding that survey, we do not know if there were others outside of the Hacienda La Puente area that submitted a survey that do not have the right to vote in our trustee, or vote in the school board election.
Your minute has expired now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so it's at this time. Is there any more, Allison?
Let me double check. They could keep, seeing none. No.
Okay, seeing none, we will now ask that the Hacienda La Puente Unified School District make any concluding remarks. You have 5 minutes.
Larry, again, I'll let you go ahead if you want to go a little bit more into map 4 or the sequence or anything that we may have cut your time short on.
Sure, and maybe to respond to a couple of the comments that we received as well. On the notification of meetings, I think as the committee will know, this district, based on what you've seen in other places, has gone well above and beyond what is required, sending 30,000 postcards out to all households, not just district students, as well as the ads in the newspaper and social media and other notification methods and the school marquees that everybody drives throughout the community. So I think that it was not just geared at folks who have children in the school district, that we did reach out to as many residents as we could. for that. And on the noticing of the meetings, we did have to move very quickly to get notifications out. And so when we sent the postcard, we had the locations to be determined because we hadn't yet decided where those would be. But as soon as we had that information, we made sure to publicize that as much as possible. On the issue of incumbency, as you'll see in all the maps, we have two areas that, except for map 2, we have two areas that are that do not have an incumbent board member within them. So that was not a primary consideration within this process. All of these maps have two open areas and some amount of pairing of trustees. So that occurred as well, all of them as well. On the online survey, it was one of the considerations that went into the process. It wasn't the sole, as we talked about, consideration that the board used in making a decision. All of the information was presented, and we again couldn't control how many times people responded to a survey, nor can we control how many times a particular person speaks at a board meeting or submits a comment at a community meeting. We didn't discount those for any repetition either. It was, again, just one of the tools used by the district through this outreach process. Anthony, was there anything else you wanted to address?
No, I think you commented on everything, how we went about our outreach. I think you got it all.
And I think that will conclude our...
I'm there. This concludes our hearing for the Hacienda La Puente Unified School District. May I have a motion to adjourn the hearing, please?
Move it, Davis.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Quintanilla. Roll call vote.
Okay. Ashcraft? Yes. Bostrom?
He's muted.
Okay. I'll come back. Collix?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Moore? Yes. Nunez?
Yes.
August?
Yes.
Quintanilla?
Yes.
Snell?
Yes.
Solomon?
Yes.
Wilmer?
Yes.
Ostrom?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried.
Okay, the Hacienda La Puente public hearing is now adjourned. Okay, the Hacienda La Puente public hearing is now adjourned. To the second public hearing on the petition to implement trustee areas and trustee area voting in the Roland USD School District. Now open. The public hearing guidelines were provided in the public hearing notices. I will now read them briefly. The district will have 20 minutes to make a presentation to the county committee. Following that, proponents will have up to 45 minutes in total to provide the comments. Then opponents will also have up to 45 minutes in total to provide their comments. The district will then have 5 additional minutes to sum up its presentation. Following this public hearing, the committee will discuss the petition and ask questions when we reconvene back to our regularly scheduled meeting. Would representatives of the Roland Heights Unified School District please present themselves? Staff, please make sure that all presenters are able to be seen and heard during this presentation. Staff will scroll your PowerPoint presentations, which all committee members have copies of. Roland Unified School District, you have 20 minutes.
Thank you very much. My name is Julie Mitchell, and I'm the superintendent in the Roland Unified School District. With us today, we have our board president, Mr. David Malkin. We have our demographer, Mr. Larry Furshaw, with Cooperative Strategies, and we also have legal counsel, Mr. Ron Wankart.
So thank you again for hearing our information and our presentation today. So next slide, thank you. So background of the district, the Roland Unified School District serves 4 cities and unincorporated Los Angeles County, serving approximately 13,000 students in grades TK through 12 in 19 schools. In addition, we have a very robust adult and community education program serving about 5,000 additional individuals through these programs. Next slide. As a district, we are very proud of the accomplishments that we have made both academically, athletically, artistically, and through our activities. So this slide just highlights some of the accomplishments of the district in the last few years. Next slide. As a district, we have a deep commitment to serving our students, staff, and community in all areas. Through this process of transitioning to voter area districts, we have engaged our community in multiple public hearings and community meetings to inform and engage the community, both those that are students in our district and those that do not have students in our district. Next slide. The conversation and process to transition to voter area districts began in 2017 and concluded in January, bringing us to where we are today. Next slide. Our commitment to students, staff, and the community. For a broad overview, we, Roland Unified, held a total of 4 public hearings, 4 formal public hearings, but also had a number of community outreach meetings, which will be shared a little bit later in the presentation. But looking at our public hearings, we held 2 in the month of October, and then following the published maps, which there were 5 to begin with, in November we held a second public hearing, or excuse me, it was our 3rd public hearing, and then we held our 4th public hearing in December of 2019. So we'll come back at the end after Larry has been able to share some of the details about the map, and I'll go through the community meetings and community engagement that we had as part of this process. But at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Larry Furshaw to share some of the information from the demographer perspective. Mr. Furshaw?
All right, thank you, Dr. Mitchell, members of the committee again. These are the criteria, again, that we used in this process in terms of having areas of equal population, following the Federal Voting Rights Act, not using race as a primary consideration, but among the considerations, as well as looking at communities of interest, having areas be compact, contiguous, and using their man-made and natural geographic features. We can go on to slide 8. Second here. In terms of geographic data, on the next slide, we looked at school district boundaries, voting precincts, streets and highways, census blocks, as well as school attendance areas. Slide 9 now looks at the total population of the district as of the 2010 census, 108,603 residents within the school district, and you can see on total population the breakout of that, so 44.43% Latino, 43.28% Asian, and 8% white. Go to the next slide. We can see the cities that are served by the school district, Walnut and West Covina, portions of those cities in the northern part, City of Industry through the center, and then the Roland Heights community in the southern part of the district. The district initially, if you look at the next slide, presented 5 original scenarios. This is scenario 1, first one. Area 1 is yellow, 2 is green, 3 is red, 4 is blue, and 5 is purple.
On where the sales are taken to true.
So you can see Area 1 in Walnut and West Covina portions of the district, and Area 2, again in West Covina, extending to the west, Grade 3, both sides of Industry, a little bit of West Covina, and then going down into Roland Heights. Area 4 in the northern parts of Roland Heights, and then Area 5 being the southern portion of the district. This map had a population variance of 2.8%. If we go to the next slide, we can see the breakout of the ethnicities by area. So you can see this area created 2 majority Latino trustee areas, areas 2 and 3, with 53% and 67% respectively Latino citizen voting age population. and then 3 majority Asian citizen voting age population areas, and that would be in trustee area 1 at 52%, trustee area 4 at 52%, and trustee area 5 at 61%. So in all the maps that the district prepared, there is increased influence for members of protected classes and majority protected class areas in all of those. We'll keep going through those as we look further. We look at map 2. Again, this one had a 5.55% variance. Very similar to scenario 1, but if you kind of look at them side by side, there's a little bit of a difference. In the southern portion of the district, you'll see the purple area moves farther to the north. The blue area kind of gets wrapped around a little bit by that change. The red area comes farther to the east. The green area takes up a little bit more territory there. And area 1, the yellow area doesn't come as far south in map 2. But if we look at the demographics, we see similar demographics in that we have 2 majority Latino areas in trustee area 2 and 3 at 56 and 54% respectively, and then 3 majority Asian citizen voting age population areas in areas 1, 4, and 5 with 51, 50, and 60% Asian citizen voting age population. Go to the next slide now. This is scenario 3, and not to ruin the suspense, but this is the map that was selected by the board, and you have in the resolution before you. This one has a 4.44% population variance. Area 1, again, is that northern part of the district coming down the western side of, or the eastern side of the district boundary on the Walnut portion. Area 2 is that compact area, Covina, West Covina. Area 3 being, again, industry, the West Covina area coming down into the Roland. Area 4, the blue area in the western part of Roland Heights, everything north of Pathfinder, and then Area 5 being the eastern part of Roland Heights, and then coming across the freeway as well. Look at the demographics of this one, and again, similar to the first 2 scenarios, we see 2 majority Latino citizen voting age population areas in areas 2 and 3. Those were the green and red areas at 54 and 61.77% respectively, and 3 majority Asian areas in areas 1, 4, and 5, where we have between 51, 52, up to about 58% Asian citizen voting age population. That takes us then to scenario 4, and this map was a map that was proposed by Carlos Perez as part of the demand letter process. This map had a population variance of 7.53%. You can see the numbering and coloring is a bit flipped from the other scenarios to help distinguish this a little bit, but area 1 in the south and 2 in the south as well, in the Roland Heights area. Area 3, pretty similar to what we've seen in other ones. Area 4 in the northwest portion of the district, and then Area 5 along the eastern edge of the district. What this map does is it has only 1 majority Latino area in Area 3 at 82%. So it puts the Latino population, packs that into Area 3, and still has 3 majority Asian citizen voting age population areas in Areas 1, 2, and 5. So that was one of the distinguishing factors of this scenario, is that it did only create 1 majority Latino voting area, where all the other maps the district had under consideration created 2, and giving that community a larger voice in the outcome of elections. So we can go on to map 5 here. This one had a 9.03% variance. You can see this one's a little bit more different. It's a little different than some of the other maps. This was an attempt to see if we were to have each board member in their own area, what that might look like, just so that the board could see that. In all the other scenarios, we had some pairings of board members. So this was for the board's own information to see what that could possibly look like. And it did still create 2 majority Latino trustee areas in areas 2 and 3, and 3 majority Asian trustee areas in 1, 4, and 5. So it still would have been viable under the California Federal Voting Rights Act. And the board did ask for some revisions to that, which we'll look at shortly. Map 6 on the, skip a slide or 2 to slide 21. This was suggested by a member of the community, so we drew that map based on the suggestions from that community member. But the population variance, as you'll see on the next slide, was too large at 43%, so that wasn't a map that the board was able to consider through this process. And then finally, we can go to the next slide, map 7. This was a update to scenario 5 in order to reduce the population variance, which you'll see gets down to 4.77%. And it still maintains the 2 majority Latino areas in areas 2 and 3, and the 3 majority Asian voting age population areas in areas 1, 4, and 5, with between 54 and 60% Asian citizen voting age population, which you'll see on slide 24. So that's a little bit of overview of all the maps that were considered, and I'll turn it back over to Dr. Mitchell.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So as we look at this slide, we wanted to share with the committee the work that we did as a district with community outreach to gather additional information and input from our community members. As a district, we did not want to rely solely on 4 public hearings. So this provides a sample of the community meetings that were held for that outreach and to share information across all areas of our district. Our outreach included attending and presenting at already established community meetings as a guest on their agenda, knowing that they already had a group of people that would regularly be coming to those meetings, as well as hosting our own separate meetings dedicated to inform our community. And then next slide. Thank you. So in addition to in-person meetings, our district also shared written documents, meeting notices, draft maps, and more through our website and other print and electronic communications. These included district telephone calls, social media posts, and advertisements on our district marquee. Next slide. So to recap, in compliance with the legal requirement, our district, Roland Unified School District, held the first public hearing on October the 10th. A presentation was provided by legal counsel outlining the CVRA process, and the public was invited to provide comment and input, and the district had translators available to support our Spanish, Chinese, and Korean-speaking community members. Next slide. Our second public hearing was held on October 24th. Again, it was a repeat of the presentation that had been done previously on October the 10th, and translators were also available to support our community members. Next slide. Our next public hearing number 3, was held on November the 14th. This was following the posting of 5 draft maps for the community to be able to see, and the purpose of this was for the community to provide input on those draft maps. There was a presentation that was provided by our demographer, Mr. Larry Furshaw, and then each of the 5 maps were shared and explained in detail. The public was invited to provide comment and input, and the district, again, had translators available to support our families with Spanish, Korean, and Chinese translators. And then our last public hearing was held on December the 12th. And so following the introduction of 2 additional maps, so between public hearing number 3 and public hearing number 4, there was an interest to develop 2 additional maps. So we had a total of 7 to consider. Those 2 additional maps were made available to the public within the legal timeline for providing before our public hearing. So at the public hearing on December 12th, again, we had a presentation of all of the maps, all 7, and being able to gather input and make available the opportunity for the public to speak directly to the board prior to any decision being made. Next slide. On January, the Board of Education took action to adopt Resolution S0-19-2011, which established trustee area districts and described the outcome or the outline of map number 3. So within the resolution that the board adopted, what included the selection of map number 3. Next slide. This slide is provided to the committee as a sample of the resolution, so the actual resolution has been provided to the committee for your review. Next slide. Next slide. And then there is the map. So this is, as Mr. Furshaw has shared, scenario number 3, or map number 3, is the map that has been selected by the board to bring forward as we progress through the process of going to voter area districts. And next slide. The demographic data for our district as it applies to map number 3 has been provided to the committee as well. Next slide. Additionally, as required in preparation for this transition, a waiver has been filed with the State Board of Education. Prior to filing that waiver, we met with parent groups and councils, as well as our labor associations, the Association of Rural Educators, which is our Teachers Association, and CSEA, which is our Classified Association. Next slide. The waiver has been submitted to the State Board of Education and is on their agenda for the meeting that is being held tomorrow. Next slide. For the record, we've included that waiver application that has been submitted to the State Board of Education. Next slide. So we are planning and prepared for the next steps. We are having our meeting today. We have confirmation since we submitted this that our item is on the State Board of Education for tomorrow, May the 7th. Then we will record the trustee voting area plan with the registrar and proceed with the elections for November 2020 by trustee area. In 2020, the Roland Unified School District will have 2 seats up for election, and in 2022, we'll have 3 seats up for election. Next slide. I just want to thank you again for your time and consideration, and I will turn it back over to Allison Deegan.
At this time, thank you, Roland Heights Unified School District. At this time, we will hear from proponents of this petition for the maps, and you will have 1 minute to speak. If you have sent in a written comment already, please try not to restate what you've already sent in, but to add any additional information that you think might be helpful. So this is for the proponent.
This time I see no hands raised. Maybe we need to wait a minute.
Sure.
No proponents at this time.
All right. So now
the host will be informed that you would like to speak.
Hold on, a hand just went up. Sorry about that.
Okay. No worries.
Area code 909-997-0716.
You are unmuted.
Name and whether you're a proponent or an opponent.
I'm an opponent. My name is Roy Humphreys, and I submitted a map number 6, which is the only one that depicts the huge geographical divide between the north and the south. And further, we have the Board President David Malcolm, who looks transparency as a buzzword, and as noted in the presentation, and an insult to this county board is that is presented that they started this process in 2017, and we know that they have 90 days. And also in that letter it says that the superintendent will immediately. Does immediately mean 2 years later? And but for Roy Humphreys and requesting that the superintendent agendize this issue after finding out what Attorney Carlos Perez did for Whittier, she refused to do so, saying that it had been taken care of in 2017, upon which time Carlos Perez came to the rescue, and the rest is history. But and I apologize that this presentation being presented to you today by this district. And further, the superintendent said about the meetings.
Thank you very much, Mr. Humphreys. Your minute is up.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you for your comments, sir.
Are there any other?
Let me check. Hold on.
Do I get an extension like you did for the district?
You are muted.
We don't see any others, but maybe call again for opponents. That was an opponent.
The host will be informed that you would like to speak.
One more time for any remaining opponents who have not yet been heard.
Seeing none.
Okay. So, Roland, you have 5 minutes to conclude your presentation with any additional remarks.
Thank Thank you very much. I would just like to again thank the committee for the time this morning to view our presentation and listen to the comments that have been made. And again, we appreciate your support in the selection of map number 3 as the Roland Unified School District transitions to voter area district voting. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the Roland USD public hearing. May I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn the public hearing.
Second.
Second motion.